Hello and welcome back to War Thunder and welcome aboard the Focke-Wulf 190 A-5 here on Norway in realistic battles. The reason why I make this video has to do with a certain update that Gaijin released today. It was a server update, and amongst a lot of points and updates that Gaijin did to a lot of variations of planes, there was one point regarding Focke-Wulf 190 A's, and I read the point out for you. Focke-Wulf 190A, all modifications, completely new flight model that includes all recent updates such as fuel tanks consumption priority, inertia calculations, center of gravity changes, datasheet updated. Better controllability at high speeds, nose heaviness reduced. And it was the point about the nose heaviness that really caught my eye, that really made me ask myself if the Focke-Wulfs gained a little bit more maneuverability. And with more maneuverability, I don't mean like they now turn like Spitfires. No. I don't expect that. And I also don't want this to be, because it would be completely unrealistic. What I want them to have is to work better at low speeds. And that brings me to this match. Because this match showcases basically how the Focke-Wulf performs in all situations. And the truth is, at least for the over 10 battles that I played today with this plane, it doesn't feel different. Except one thing, to which I will come into a moment. The Focke-Wulf 190A series, and in particular this plane, have received no flight model change at all, as far as I can tell. The only thing that I actually received was a new thermodynamics model, and that not for the better. Previously, I had really no problems keeping the engine under control in terms of overheating. Now, it's not so good anymore. It will overheat over time, and to such a brutal degree that for me, when you are caught in a fight when it begins, is unrecoverable. And it has to do with the oil. But let's first off deal with this Wyvern. And you can see I'm over 800. Doesn't feel different, to be honest. It's not bad, but it's not brilliant either. So I'm climbing back, rolling over, and preparing for a attack on the Wyvern again. Taking the lead with the machine guns. There we go. One hit, one wing less. So, also the Sterlings were dealt with. You see them currently flying out of the sky. One of them managed to drop bombs on the U-boat bunker, which burns bright. Let's go back to the overheating issue. Now, Norway is actually a good map for German fighter planes. You have an air start with good speed, and you also have Norway itself that provides you with cool air, which benefits the equilibrium between heat production and the consumption of heat via the cooling air, so to speak. Now, I am using manual engine controls, and I just not use it for the radiator of the engine itself, but also for the oil radiator. The problem is on the Focke-Wulf A5, you can't directly control the oil radiator, which is a problem. Now, in the first few minutes, you have absolutely no problems with the heat of the engine. And that's fine, you can climb with web, full emergency power, and you have a decent climb rate. You're not as good as Spitfires or other allied aircraft, so to speak, but you also will gain altitude. The problem is, after a certain amount of time, your oil gets into the amber and eventually redlining. And the moment of redlining is at 85 degrees of Celsius. And then you have to cut the throttle. And it will work initially. It takes a bit of time until it gets back to the non-red stage, but over time it is problematic to not use the web and still stay combat effective, especially when you're doing boom and zoom attacks. And when you're too long in the red zone of the overheating for the oil, the critical temperature actually drops from 85 to eventually under 80 degrees, and that is uncontrollable. Your engine will die, and rather quickly, like within 2 minutes. I had numerous battles on Sicily where my engine just simply died. I was having like 3 or 4 kills and was in a good position, but my engine just overheated and I couldn't get it back. With a good speed, full radiators open, and eventually also, completely cutting the throttle. It didn't help. The engine didn't come back. Then the engine got yellow, orange, black, and then it died. And this process took like just 2 minutes. And for me, that's horrible. Because the main strength for me, for the Focke-Wulf, is that it has a certain endurance in battle. Not just in terms of damage, but also that it has a lot of ammunition for a good amount of guns. And also it can take 30 minutes of fuel. And together with the rather large ammunition count and overall the battle endurance, you could stay in the air for that long. And you then run into the problem that your engine overheats. And the only way to, I don't know how to say it except for, resetting this overheat timer, is by landing and doing a complete repair and then starting again. But then you have to climb all the way back to altitude, and then you have a limited amount of combat time. On no way, together with certain tactics, you can delay this issue, but you will never get rid of it, to be honest. And this battle was the battle where I think that I managed to deal with it to a certain degree. Now, from time to time, you saw me and will see me cutting the throttle and giving the engine a bit of breathing space. But it will affect my performance. And at this moment, I was a bit dancing with a teammate that got himself a kill on a P-51 that was upside down in a head-on. Some American pilots just love to give XP and credits, right? And then I also have to deal with a F4U Corsair. It's obviously the cannon armed at this battle rating, and this is a highly dangerous plane. For a few patches now, it is really, really good. And I had no idea that the Spitfire was actually there. I didn't pay attention. He could have easily killed me there in this situation if he would have gone for me. And that was a really nice kill. That was my 3rd kill. And at the moment, you see that I don't have any overheating problems at all. 84 degrees. Again, just, mentioning it again. 85 degrees is the critical temperature. First it will go orange, and then it will go red. And when it goes red, the damage begins to build up on the engine. And eventually it will physically damage the engine, which also affects then your performance output of the engine. So your power level drops and drops and drops, and then the engine will go black and you just will simply fall out of the sky. Now here this P-47 N15 attacked me. This is a very good plane. I really like it. I highly recommend it in the current stage. And yes, I ripped my flaps there, and yes, I missed that shot. And then I just hit it with like 1 shell, and I critted his engine. or at least I damaged it. He smokes heavily now, which is a good sign, you know. Direct engine damage always forces the enemy to hasten up the combat or return to base. Now at the moment I can't run away from the Griffin Spitfire. You know, it's a Griffin Spitfire. It will outrun me eventually, and I have to turn into him. And it was good. It seems like he was AFK there for a moment, and I go head on with another Spitfire, and then he damages my engine and makes it yellow with his last shot, basically. And for a moment I hoped that they would collide. What a shame they didn't. Now here I'm dancing with the Spitfire. I can take it for 1 or 2 turns, but eventually I will run out of energy and he will have an easy kill with me. Now at this moment I felt like I was a bit pissed, as well as that this P-51 escaped my shells. I didn't have a lot of a lot of good lead there, and also my flying speed was too slow to have a good controllability over the aircraft. Now the Spitfire turned around and I use a bit of arcade tactics again and try to use the environment or the terrain to my advantage to turn a little bit around. Now at this moment I'm certain that I will die, but I just wanted to make it as expensive for the enemies as possible. I wanted to bleed them off all their speed and all their altitude so that the remaining of my team can clean them up when they eventually will arrive. But then I looked at the leaderboards and I saw that those 2 planes are the last 2 players. Now just the Spitfire is left because he went into head-on with a B-109G. And then I must have cut his control cables because he crashes into the ocean. That is an ace in a Focke-Wulf A-5 with machine guns. Yeah, that's nice. So I showed you this battle because I had an ace. It was a good game. There was a lot of nice teamwork. It was not that visible, but when I played it, I really knew that I can rely on my teammates to arrive when I really need them. And, you know, if this wouldn't have been the last enemy player that we killed, I would have died because the engine would have failed me. Now, it was not that particular battle where it's so obvious that the engine overheats, but this was the battle where it overheated the least, and it also had to do with the time in battle. So let's have a quick look at the post-battle result screens, and we can see that for those 5 aircraft kills I got 91,000 silver lions and just above 4,000 research points. And I also was first in team with 3,287 research points. So that was this, I don't know how to call it, rant, discussion, you know, information video on the Focke-Wulf A series, in particular the Focke-Wulf A-5. I love this plane, but the current performance is not very nice, and I'm glad that I don't have to spade it at the moment. And yeah, Gaijin should really rework their new flight models, or let's say the engine performance models, as it really is not nice to have those overheating issues. Anyways, that's it for today. Let me know in the comment section what you think about this whole issue, if you have experienced it yourself, and give this video a like if you did, subscribe if you want to see more, and see you in the skies of War Thunder.